Welcome to the Viking Age podcast. It's the official podcast of the VikingAge.com. My name is Chris Schad. I write for Zone Coverage, Bring Me the News, and the Brookings Register. My co-host is Adam Patrick, managing editor of the Viking Age, and we do this every Monday with a late week episode right here on the Viking Age YouTube channel. We're also in podcast form on Apple and Spotify the very next day, but however you consume us, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe so you never miss a new episode and we can spread the word to the masses. Now, on today's episode, we will address what the 5-0 Minnesota Vikings need to do over the bye week. We will acknowledge someone. But first, let's overreact to a Week 5 victory over the New York Jets. Adam, as always, unless you'd like to defer, I will let you go first.
All right. So yesterday, the Vikings got a big win over the Jets. They improved to 5-0 for the first time since 2016. Now they get to go on their bye and get some much needed rest before they come back and take on I guess now you can call them a rival, the Lions. They weren't much of a rival before, but they're a rival this season. But my first overreaction from yesterday is that Minnesota's offensive struggles against the Jets shouldn't really concern anyone. I wrote about after the game about how, Sam Darnold's performance just, reassures or just reemphasizes the point that the Vikings are going to switch to J.J. McCarthy next season, and he is the future at quarterback. But at the same time, London games are weird. Time change throws everything off. It's an unfamiliar environment. The weather was a little bit sleek and wet, so that could have led to some miscues. Aaron Jones he missed 75% of the game with his hip injury. It seemed like maybe the Vikings could have been a little guilty of looking ahead to their bye week. The Jets have a solid defense. They rank 6th in the NFL in points allowed per offensive drive, and they have the number 2 ranked pass defense in the league after yesterday. So I'm not too concerned about the Vikings' performance yesterday in London. I expect their offense to come out firing when they return from their bye, Week 7 against the Lions. Against the Lions, defense had just allowed the Seahawks to gain over 500 total yards of offense in Week 4.
Yeah, I mean, the offense, it definitely took a step back when Aaron Jones went out. And that's kind of getting to my next point. Not that we're trying to go through these rapid fire or whatever, but it all makes sense because I think the Vikings are one piece away from having a kick-ass offense. And it's not TJ Hawkinson, who would have helped big time, especially, here's the thing. And I think this is why people may be a little bit in freak out mode at the end of that game. It was bombs away with Sam Darnold at the end of the game. And you can pin that on Darnold a little bit for making poor decisions, but you can also turn that around and go, why were they calling all those pass plays? Part of it was due to penalties. The other part was they didn't have a running game because, as you mentioned, Aaron Jones got hurt in the first quarter, did not return after having a good thing. Ty Chandler stepped in and he was awful on Sunday. He fumbled on a pitch. He was bailed out by Andrew Van Ginkel pick 6, which the defense won again. That's pretty awesome for the Vikings. But 14 carries on 30 yards for Ty Chandler. 2 catches for 9 yards. 1.93 yards after contact, which Aaron Jones, before he got hurt, had 3.57 yards after contact. I believe that number is somewhere around there, maybe a little closer to 3, but that's one of Aaron Jones's strengths and one of the things that Ty Chandler has a weakness on. And I know a lot of you love Ty Chandler out there, and you might say, oh, it was a bad day. He was playing a pretty solid defense in the Jets. So Ty Chandler has 28 carries for 117 yards this year, 4.2 yards per carry. That's pretty admirable. You can get by on that. He also has a 39.3% success rate, which, if you don't know, Pro Football Reference cites this as the ability of a running back to get 40% of yards on first down, 60% of yards on second down, and 100% of yards on third and fourth down. He also has 1.74 yards after contact this season. So this is not a just bad day for Ty Chandler. This is who he is because the coaching staff does not trust him. They do not want to give him the football if they can help it. That's why they signed Aaron Jones. That's why Alexander Madison was having the worst season by a running back since the merger, and they still wouldn't start Ty Chandler. And I know some people really like Ty Chandler because he's really fast, and he had that good year at North Carolina to end his college career, and he's the type of back you want in Madden and college football 25, and he saved your fantasy team last December when they started him against the Cincinnati Bengals. The Vikings lost that game, by the way. Just want to put that out. Running backs don't seem to matter unless you don't have one. And unless the Vikings want to go ahead and make CJ Ham, Peyton Hillis, they need to trade for a running back because Aaron Jones is going to get hurt again. He's 30 years old. Like, this is not a surprise that he left a game. And Ty Chandler basically pissed his pants yesterday.
Yeah. My only question would be just like who's available for them to even trade for.
I would take a lot of running backs over Ty Chandler right now.
Would you look for more?
This is nothing new for me.
A veteran guy.
Yeah, veteran. I don't care. Find a guy off the practice squad. Go down to Rochester Community and Technical College and get a running back from there if you want. Just be like, hey, we got a spot here. Screw your eligibility. Come on up. Like, anybody over time. This is not like a one-off thing with Ty Chandler with me. Anybody who knows, last October, I was saying there's something wrong here because he's not starting. And everybody told me how fast and how explosive and how big of a playmaker he is. And he does nothing. He does absolutely nothing when he's in the game. So my apologies to Ty Chandler, but yesterday was not a good day. And that is the running back he is. He is not an NFL running back. Sorry.
Not a top one. Not a number one.
He's Kade Nwangwu.
Yeah.
He's fast, but can't do anything else.
Yeah. So just give an NIL deal to Ashton Genty though, like to just end his Boise State season and come on over.
It's like some dynasty leagues where you can burn your next first round pick to get a guy early out of college. Like, call up Genty. That guy is insane. And it would not surprise me. And I know the Vikings have limited capital, but it would not surprise me if the Vikings try to get aggressive to get him in next year's draft. Because remember, they like Jahmyr Gibbs in last year. So it would technically be last year. The 2023
they tried to sign Montgomery
draft. Mm-hmm. So, and I mean, if the Vikings really trusted Ty Chandler, they wouldn't have signed Aaron Jones.
Correct.
So,
yeah, Aaron Jones is really good though too, as he's proven already this year. And it sounds like he's going to be able to play in Week 7. It sounds like the Vikings were just being cautious. It seemed like they're like, we could probably beat this team without Aaron Jones. Let's not injure him more than we have to. And the Jets have a good defense. Like they beat up Sam Darnold pretty good yesterday too. So the Vikings know that their game against the Lions is going to be more important than playing a Jets team who's not even in their conference. So yeah, I just wonder what at this time of year there aren't a lot of solutions at running back. I mean, what do you do? Sign like Latavius Murray, who's just hanging out at home. I guess Jerick McKinnon's still unsigned, right? I think he is. I don't think he's on the Chiefs. I think he's still unsigned. That would be. I don't know how productive he was with the Chiefs. I'd have to look that up last year, but he's at least someone you can probably rely on more as someone not to make mistakes back in the backfield.
And I think that's all they need. They just need somebody that's not going to make a mistake and not look like, Ty Chandler did when they get him out there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, yeah. So I guess yesterday, Aaron Jones getting hurt was probably, a blessing in disguise because now the Vikings know, like, hey, if he gets hurt, we're screwed. So we need to figure out something else behind Aaron Jones for the rest of the season.
Well, one more thing, and I'll and then I'll let you kind of do your thing here. But Aaron Jones was on pace for 275 carries entering yesterday's game. And part of it was 22 against the Packers, kind of bumped that number up. But you don't want to do that. And if Ty Chandler had the trust of the coaching staff, it would be nowhere near that high right now. So
yeah, I think he had over 25 touches against the Texans too, if I'm not mistaken. But that was probably mostly because they were just up by so much and they just wanted to run the clock out. So for my next overreaction, something kind of related to the running game, at least in the blocking sense. Ed Ingram, he needs to be benched after the bye week. Yesterday against the Jets, he allowed another 5 pressures and a sack. Third game for him this season, allowing at least 3 pressures and a sack. He's allowed a total of 17 pressures this season, which is second most among all guards and centers in the NFL. His PFF pass blocking grade is the 4th worst among guards and centers in the NFL, with at least 45 pass blocking snaps this season. This is his 3rd season in the NFL, but it seems like he's getting worse at pass blocking and not better. You have Dalton Reisner, who is still on injured reserve, but maybe he'll be ready after the bye to come back. He could be a possible solution. The Vikings could also consider making a trade for a veteran right guard, perhaps someone like Cardinals right guard Will Hernandez. Vikings fans should be familiar with that name because a bunch of people wanted him in the 2018 draft before the Vikings went with Mike Hughes. But Hernandez is in his final year of his deal with Arizona. He has a higher PFF offensive grade than Ingram and Blake Brandel this season. He hasn't given up a sack. He's only allowed 8 pressures, and he's also been just as solid as a run blocker as Ingram this year, 34th out of 67 guards in PFF run blocking grade. Ingram's just a clear weak link on Minnesota's offensive line, and the bye week is the perfect time to make a change.
Like the entire 2022 draft class, not looking great. Like it wasn't already because you lost your first 2
Caleb
picks,
Evans looked terrible yesterday too. What was he doing? Just running into everybody on punt return.
He's just out there kind of wasn't he the guy?
He got shoved in the
Lewis Cine? Or who was the guy that ran into Lewis Cine's leg and broke that a couple? Was that Evans or?
I don't know about that.
Okay, I can't remember how that injury, but I don't know. Like a Caleb, I noticed it on special teams. I'm just like, he's not having a good day because he got thrown into Brandon Powell on 1 punt return. The other one, I think, I don't know. It was just like his controller unplugged and he was just, okay, I'm out here. Let's do this. You saw the field.
I saw, I think it was either last week or this week where Caleb Evans posted, it was on the way to the game and Caleb Evans posted just a picture of him in his Delta seat where they had the beds and stuff, and somebody reposted like, oh, that's nice of the Vikings to let fans travel with them to the game. So.
Like it's just, I don't know, like Jalen Naylor, I'm sorry. Like he's almost collateral damage at this point, just being lumped in.
He didn't have a target yesterday.
Yeah, he didn't. I'm well aware because I had him on Underdog, which we'll talk a little bit about later. But I think with Ingram too, you have to remember who the Vikings got rid of in order to have him keep. Because there's been no pressure on him to lose his job throughout the first 3 years, and I was a little bit optimistic when it came to, he cut his pressures down by 33% last year from his rookie year. He was out there in the preseason, and we were kind of like, well, that's weird. That's
without the rest of the offensive line, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then we're seeing what we're seeing now, which is one of the worst guards in football. You know who's one of the best guards in football? Ezra Cleveland. The Vikings traded Cleveland to the Jaguars for a 2024 6th-round pick. It turned out to be Walter Rouse, who also is not playing right now. Cleveland, 76.4 overall grade, is 10th among guards right now.
Oh, wow.
A 67.8 run blocking grade, which is 29th among guards. Not bad, but you take it. That's like, that's like a top guard because the first 32, if you're doing Steiner math.
Similar to what they have already.
Yeah, you got a 50-50 chance, but he's a generic 3. So it's like 33 and third chance. And then I'm not going to get into all of that. But, and here's the kicker, though. 84.4 pass blocking grade.
Ooh,
that's third among guards. He has 5 pressures allowed on 182 pass blocking snaps. Ed Ingram allows 5 pressures. He allowed 5 pressures in the game yesterday. Like, Ed Ingram has 17 pressures allowed on the season. That's 3rd highest among guards. You don't want to know the other 2 because they really don't matter in the league. And like, I sit here and I'm just like, how many times are we going to do this? Like, can he play guard? And it's just 2 fat guys like showing up. Just like, I don't know. We got Dalton Reisner chowing down whatever from, spicy hot eggs and Caesar salad or whatever the hell he was talking about. And, he's not anywhere back. They're not activating his practice window because he's got a back injury. And by the way, no other team in the NFL wants him. So that's not a red flag. Blake Brandel, he wasn't great yesterday, but I mean, he's been solid overall this year. It's like we're hoping Dalton Reisner rides in on his white horse again, and he's fine. He's not great. Yeah. And I don't know, too. Maybe it was one of those deals where they knew Ezra Cleveland wasn't going to sign with them. Right. And they just traded him to get something for him. But at the same time,
they just didn't want to pay him.
What's that?
They just didn't want to pay him probably either.
Right, 3 years, $28 million.
Because he wasn't that good, but he wasn't that good with the Vikings. So like,
right.
They looked at like,
and he got reunited. What was it? Phil Rauscher was his name, the offensive line coach. He's in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
So he got reunited with his old offensive line coach.
He was in Minnesota.
So maybe that kind of elevated him a little bit. It just sucks, man. It's the typical like David Ortiz thing where a player's okay with you and then he goes somewhere else and he looks like an all-pro. Maybe Cleveland's not an all-pro because the Jaguars are 1-4, but he's definitely off to a great start. And somebody I would take on the offensive line right now because yeah. And then there's a whole other conversation about Garrett Bradbury, but that's not.
Do you think the Vikings should trade for someone maybe like a Will Hernandez?
I mean, here's the problem. Like, we're talking about, okay, we'll trade for a running back, trade for a guard. They have no capital. So unless you want to go
2026,
what's that?
You can go 2026 though.
Exactly. Like I'm saying, if they want to go full Rams, like.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I know this wasn't the targeted season to be, a contender, but they're 5-0. They are. They don't have a choice. They can't just be like, oh well, we're not going to try and win a Super Bowl this year just because we're undefeated. We'll be all right. We'll just save it for next year.
Yeah, pulling the Twins, and we have the 2nd best prospect pool in all of baseball. Can't add anyone at the deadline.
Yeah. Speaking of baseball, Padres, great win last night.
Yeah, they're pissing off everybody's fans now.
Great.
Throwing shit at them.
It was great. Love Tatis. He's great. But yeah, like I don't know. I just like how much longer it seemed. It's something like with like the Alexander Madison situation last year, where the Vikings were like, well, maybe he'll figure it out. We'll go to the bye week and we'll come out and he'll do better. He'll do better. It seems like they're kind of doing the same thing with Ed Ingram, where they're just like expecting him to get better, but it's year 3 now. He should be better, but he's still terrible. And at this point, I don't know. Like, who did they draft? They drafted that kid from, was it Wake Forest?
Yeah, Michael Jurgens.
So
they love him too.
So do you try him out there? I don't know. I think they just have to figure something out for the bye week, because when you're going against teams like the Lions, you got to go against the Seahawks, the Bears, like all these teams with a good pass rush. You got to protect your quarterback, especially Sam Darnold, because you are one hit away, as we've seen a couple of times, from Nick Mullins going in there and tossing up, hospital balls. So,
that's not my arm, coach.
Aaron
4th and 1, I got a 90-yard bomb for you.
Aaron Jones had to moss somebody yesterday just to get the one pass that Nick Mullins threw. They got the first down, but it was clear. It was just a wake-up call. So
I just love how everybody's reaction when he comes into a game is just like, oh, fuck. Like, here we go.
Yeah.
It's like Gardner Minshew on meth is what Nick Mullins is. Just like
he's good now.
No, not like he's good. Just like it's bad decision making on
No,
meth.
yeah, I know.
Like,
I was
yeah,
referring to Gardner Minshew already using a substance.
yeah. I don't know. Dude could join the young Bucks though. He's
He
got
got
that
benched
look
yesterday.
down. Yeah, he did get benched. Yes. I don't know. I had a bad joke. Okay, let's move on.
What do you throw? He threw a pick six that went 100 yards the other way.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Eesh.
Raiders
All right.
having fun over there.
Yeah, another overreaction.
Well, I just gave you my second one, so it would be your turn, or you can do the.
Oh, that was my overreaction. Was I miss Ezra Cleveland?
Oh yeah.
I'm mixing. We're on the same wavelength, and I'm
Yeah.
mixing them into
All right.
yours like a smooth. It was so good, you didn't even notice the transition. It was great.
It was good. I'll go with my last one, which is Vikings related, but more NFL related. Kevin Stefanski's going to get fired if he doesn't bench Deshaun Watson. Kevin Stefanski, who's won Coach of the Year 2 out of the last 3 seasons. The Browns are 1-4 after yesterday losing to the Washington Commanders, which is a team I would not want to face right now if I were the Vikings. They look really good. Jaden Daniels is very good. But they're 1-4. Deshaun Watson's one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. He's completed 60% of his passes, averaged 170 passing yards per game, 4.8 yards per throw. He's got 5 touchdown passes, 3 interceptions, and he has a passer rating of 74.8, which I believe is below guys like Skylar Thompson, Daniel Jones, and the aforementioned Gardner Minshew. So he's just doing awesome. Stefanski said after the game yesterday pretty clearly and emphatically that the Browns are not making a quarterback change. And they just have to make more plays, and the coaches have to coach better. Okay, great. So if he doesn't figure out the quarterback situation sooner than later, I think his job's really in jeopardy. And if you don't think it is, this is a Browns team under the current ownership that has had 7 different head coaches since 2012. So if you think him winning Coach of the Year is some sort of job security savior, no, not with the Browns. They don't care. They are the original impatient David Tepper ownership group before David Tepper came along and took that title. Maybe he's being forced to play Watson because of Watson's very high salary and how much they invested in to get him. But if I'm in that locker room right now, like I've got to be so annoyed and tired of Watson playing terribly, especially after last year when Joe Flacco came in and just like immediately changed the entire offense and the team was so much better. So I'm starting to feel bad for Stefanski because I think he's a good coach, but he's got to do something at the quarterback position because Watson is terrible, and the Browns don't really have any other choice just to bench him because he's his contract. They can't really trade him or cut him, so you got to do what you got to do, and if he doesn't, then I think he's fired at the end of the season.
I think so. I was talking to you about this, and I'm like,
Yep.
I would just cut him. Well, that doesn't work because I'm looking at the over the cap calculator right now. If you do a pre-June 1st cut, Browns are already 4.5 over the cap right now in 2025. If you cut them, it skyrockets to 104.3 million over the cap. There are no financial. There's no financial gymnastics to get out of that.
And
like,
they just
you can't. I'm blanking on his name. Kevin Brzezinski, Rob Brzezinski. You're way out of that. No, there's no magic wand for that.
Yeah.
Honestly, you know what they should do? Suspend him for conduct detrimental to the team.
Yep.
And I think the best thing, and I mean, the NFLPA would probably come in and be like, you can't do that. And what I would say is, oh, you want to defend him? You want to defend the guy with 30 sexual I don't know the proper term. I apologize. But
multiple.
Rape, sexual, you want to defend him? You want to defend the guy who walked off the field when we want to go for it on 4th down because he was pouting? Like,
they did have 12 guys on the field, so that's why, but still.
He is dragging that team down. And I mean, I think the bones of a contender are there, but you just have a sourpuss at quarterback. And this is from a total football term. He's a sourpuss. I don't think he wants to play football anymore. I think he's a terrible person off the field. I think he's a terrible quarterback on it now. Like Houston Texans, Deshaun Watson, that guy was awesome. That guy was fun. He was one of my favorite players in the league. And then all of a sudden, football standpoint, this is before we knew everything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I mean, the Browns got tempted by that, and it's just like, and remember too, the Vikings were in on Deshaun Watson. It might have just been a little kick of the tires, but there was a little bit of a rumor where they were like, should we do this? Should we not? And the Vikings ultimately didn't do it. Like, it is a black eye on that franchise, and they deserve it because they made the trade. They signed him to that massive contract. They signed him to a fully guaranteed contract. What are you doing?
And they weren't. Who was in the lead? I think, was it the Panthers that were gonna get him, which would have been hilarious too. But then the Browns came along and were like, "No, we'll give you whatever you want." And so he was like, "Oh yeah,
the Falcons
with the Browns."
Remember the Falcons?
Too, yeah, Matt Ryan left.
Matt Ryan's like, "Yeah, fuck you, I'm gone."
Yeah, he's been with that. He just got in the Ring of Honor right after their owner.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Nah, get me out of here. I don't want to be associated with people who want that person on our team." Yeah, I think I heard, it might have been like PFT commenter or whatever a few weeks ago, where he said, it's at this point, I think he's a worse football player than his personality. Like, his personality is better than his skills as a football
That is insane.
Yeah. But they do deserve everything that they have right now, because they put themselves in the situation. But at the same time, you've got to be more self-aware enough to be like, okay, this isn't working. Like, we tried, we've done stuff, it's not working. Whatever we fixed isn't working. We traded for Jerry Jeudy, and he hasn't elevated the game of Deshaun Watson.
How could they get him for a fraction of the cost of Justin Jefferson? We'll never know.
That was a great call.
She's been on the beat for so long, but it's just like, hey, there was a reason.
Have you watched football before?
Whoa, hey.
Yeah, they're stuck, and like I said, I feel bad for Stefanski but I guess the good thing is, if he gets fired, I'm pretty sure he would get hired pretty soon by one of the coaches or one of the teams that needs a coach next year, because I think he's a good coach, and just in a bit similar to Brian Dable, where it's like, I think he's a good coach, but he's got Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones was there before I think he even got there. So, ownership is just like, we're paying this guy a lot. You need to pay it. You need to play him. I think something similar is probably going on in Cleveland. So, yeah, it's great. It's great to be a Browns fan. You go to the playoffs last year, win 11 games, and this year you're like, oh, we got our quarterback back, and then he's terrible.
Yeah. Well, I don't really have a good transition to this, but I'm sticking in London. And
you're talking about similar to Brett Favre.
Yeah, similar to Brett Favre. Yeah. Actually, you know what? This is a perfect transition, because you talk about 2010 Brett Favre. The Jets are a 2010 Minnesota Vikings, because they are a MESS mess. Aaron Rodgers did some Aaron Rodgers things yesterday, but he's not Aaron Rodgers in all caps. I was still very nervous when he had the ball with a chance to win the game, because I'm like, here we go again. They tried so damn hard to get Garrett Wilson involved just to make big plays. And I think he had 13 catches, but it was like only for 100 yards. Like, they couldn't throw it downfield because he just doesn't know like the routes or whatever, which maybe you should have skipped that trip to Egypt. I'm just saying that might have been a good idea. Sauce Gardner held on every play, and the refs actually called it. There were 5 pass interference penalties on Justin Jefferson. Robert Saleh might be smart schematically, but he just has 0 people or leadership skills.
Good defensive coordinator.
I think so. I talked to a lot of people who are like, Saleh is a terrible coach. I'm like, I'm not sure he's a bad coach. I think he's a bad leader. where
Yeah, I
he
don't
probably
even.
knows
Yeah.
his shit. He just can't get anybody to run through a wall
He
for
also
him.
has Nathaniel Hackett as his offensive coordinator, so that's just there's a wrench in everything.
Yeah. Hi. Really
He
smiley.
loves
Got
gold
my
member.
head. God, I've heard this mentioned before, but the Vikings really wanted Nathaniel Hackett. Just
Yeah.
hey, yeah. Aaron's really high on drugs right now.
Even though he wasn't
through it.
I don't think he was a finalist.
No,
did he get hired by
because
the
the
Broncos
Broncos
first?
hired him immediately because they thought he was a gateway to get Aaron Rodgers.
He was a gateway for something, yeah.
Aaron Rodgers and gateways,
Yeah.
basically the same thing. Like the only thing that's missing is like a trade for an old, aging, angry receiver. And oh my, there seems to be one out there right now with connections to Aaron Rodgers that loves to eat Taco Bell. And oh yeah, I feel like shit during the game. Oh really? That's shocking because I wouldn't feed that shit to my dog. I'm just kidding. I love Taco Bell. You want to sponsor us, Taco Bell? See, you
Not
don't
anymore.
know. This is a side street. You don't know about Taco John's though.
No, but I know about like hole in the wall taco places in San Diego
that are way better. But I mean, like Midwest, just cruising like
I've heard
late
of it.
on assignment. You know, you get some potato olays, get the nacho cheese sauce with them. They got a meat and potato burrito. That's the bomb. I may have done that on Friday.
I think I know about them because I think the guys over at the Star Tribune do like a bet every year about like will the Vikings or Gophers have the most wins. It's like Rand Ball and Gessling over there. Like whichever team gets the most wins has to like buy tacos or whatever.
Yeah, 6-pack and a pound, man. You get 6 crispy tacos and a pound of potato olays.
Oh, jeez.
It is elite. Nah, I have not. You can't eat that in one sitting. I have not tried. I'm dead serious. I do not want to try because I will hate myself the next day.
It's funny that you compare this Jets team to the 2010 Vikings because the one game I always think about from that 2010 season is the one against the Jets on Monday night when it was raining and Randy Moss was there and Favre threw to Randy Moss. I think that was Favre's 300th touchdown or something like that. 500th.
Yeah.
And that was the only time I think they connected on a touchdown pass. And everyone was just like, okay, all right, they lost, but they got Moss now, and it seems like they're developing a connection with Brett Favre. They can get on track, and then no, that didn't happen. Moss was gone like 3 weeks later. So yeah, I see a lot of similarities. I agree with you because Rodgers just like he can't move. I understand his Achilles is superhuman or whatever, back to normal, but he's 40. He can't move in the pocket. Like his leg almost got broken in half yesterday by Patrick Jones and Jonathan Grenard and Harrison Phillips. I think that the Vikings had 20 pressures yesterday. So yeah, and he hasn't thrown. I think yesterday was the first time I saw this stat going around. And I think he even mentioned it where he's thrown 2 interceptions in the first quarter. That was the first time ever in his career he's ever done that. So that just tells you how different this Aaron Rodgers is since when was the last time he was good? 21? 22. Yeah, 21. Because 23 he was out for the year. 22 he was with the Packers and stinking. So yeah, 2021 I think he won MVP.
Yeah. And that was his second straight MVP because they went to the NFC Championship game, I think.
Took some ayahuasca and he hasn't been
now he's an enlightened human being, just all omniscient. There he's like, hey, could you throw me the ball? Or
maybe do a little less podcasts this year. But I was talking to my dad yesterday actually, and he was like, Rodgers is terrible, and he's gonna like fake being hurt and then be like, oh, I can't play, I'm just gonna bow out and retire, and I'm like, yeah, and then I'll start a podcast. Because that's inevitable.
That's it. Somebody was talking. He's like, he's gonna be so good in the booth when he retires. It's like, nah, he's not gonna go in the booth, man.
Can we stop with that? Just like Drew Brees was terrible. Matt Ryan's okay. Tom Brady's terrible. Can we just stop being like, oh, these guys are great quarterbacks? Like some of the best quarterbacks. Like Peyton Manning did it perfectly. He was like, I'm not going to ruin my reputation by going in a booth and, making myself look vulnerable. I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to do the Manning cast. I'm going to do it how I want. And everyone thinks he's great. That's probably something Brady should have done because it's not good in there. And like that was the thing with Drew Brees.
talking about he's learning the game, and there are things that he just needs to concentrate
You'd rather
on.
have third downs that are 3rd and 5 than 3rd and 15. Oh, thanks, Tom. We didn't know that.
Greg Olsen has to be somewhere just super pissed off,
or he's
like,
happy because he's like,
yeah,
he's gonna get more money now.
right. Yeah, I mean, if somebody comes calling, he'd probably be like, hell yeah. I mean,
Tell you what, Netflix
they
isn't picking
had a
Tom
full
Brady.
year to figure this out. Like they could
Yeah.
have, and I don't know if like Brady just wanted to like completely get away, but it's like you have some test runs at least, like
They did like 2 test games.
yeah, and then like they were just like, all right,
I think I heard
we made a
somebody say
mistake.
like he's having trouble because he's not allowed to curse, so he kind of has to like check himself because apparently he curses a lot. So he's kind of got to like censor himself, and he's getting used to that. But still, like you can't just go like you can't go around everywhere just. I've heard him on podcasts and stuff, and I think he's in like TED Talks and stuff. Like he doesn't just curse like every other word. He can still talk, but I don't know what's going on. Like
It's a
I'll be
different
interested.
animal.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see if he moves to like an analyst or even just completely bows out after the season.
Even like the Kelsey role. I mean, they're doing it perfectly too.
Put
When
him
you
in the
think about it,
booger. Put him in the Booger McFarland role in the Booger movie.
the Booger Mobile.
Who actually, you know what? He's not bad.
I like him in a studio role.
Yeah, I watch him on primetime
Mm-hmm.
every Sunday, and him and Berman are actually really good. So I like him better there.
I have to make one more comment on the Kelseys there. Maybe this is like a half overreaction, but it's kind of out of control because I guess at the grocery store, like they have this Kelsey mix now. And it's cereal.
Oh, yeah.
It's Cocoa Puffs, Cinnamon
Everything.
Toast Crunch, and Lucky Charms.
Yeah, what the
they put diabetes in a box.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was already in there, but yeah.
Yeah. Man, stick to the Honey Nut Cheerios. That's good.
Yeah, it is getting a little overexposed. And actually, I'm interested in watching that Travis Kelce show or whatever that he's in on FX, but not because of him, just because I like the person who makes it. The person who makes like American Horror Story too always makes good stuff. Yeah, Kelce, like, and I don't mind Jason Kelce as like an analyst and stuff,
he's great,
but we don't need him in the booth for a whole half during an Eagles game where he's. I guess Rich Eisen was doing his best impression of him yesterday.
They made Aaron Rodgers sound like a freaking war hero when he came back. Like,
he's alive.
Aaron Rodgers coming back on the field. Hey, Rich, there was a penalty on the play. Can we see the penalty or
roughing the punter? We didn't show that. Maybe because it wasn't.
Yeah, I don't know how he was. I mean, I don't think NFL Network has anybody else to call the game. So that's and I think Rich Eisen.
Well, they got rid of Siciliano.
Yeah, Siciliano.
He would have been someone who couldn't do that.
Yeah.
They got rid of him. I want to say he's the Browns play-by-play announcer, actually.
It's like, I don't know if they just sat him down and it was like, all right, you cannot be a full fan during this game. Oh, yes, totally.
He can do whatever he wants.
Exactly. Well, yeah, there's that too. Anyway, let's Vikings football. No. I was trying to make us some money here.
I'm out of sorts today, I guess.
Exactly.
We're
changing the audibles.
Yesterday was so long because I'm on the West Coast. I had to wake up at 5 a.m. to watch the Vikings because I had to get inactives up too. Like, it was just so long.
Fun day. You mix in a couple of extra monsters. Are you coffee guy or monster guy?
Oh, monster. I don't
monster.
Like coffee. I've had a monster every day since like 2013. So like if I don't have one, my body goes into shock.
It's probably good Lord. Your x-ray is glowing, sir. We don't know what's happening.
Hey, sugar-free, okay?
Sugar. There's no sugar in it. It's okay.
Yeah. It's sweet. Somehow I made it sweet, but no sugar.
Like, I think too, like living in San Diego, coffee is probably not appealing. Cause like
it is
in the Midwest, but like in the Midwest, like you wake up like in January and it's 10 below outside. You're like, all right, I need something warm to drink.
It's 60 out here. Okay. It's freezing.
It's 57 right now, actually.
We went to Target the other day and they had winter coats next to bathing suits. And I was like, oh, only in San Diego.
Only there were people walking around in jackets when I was. Oh, no. They were not, because it was like 90. I thought maybe I saw a dude in a jacket or two, but no, it was like 90 while I was out there.
So you saw someone in a jacket.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, that's enough for the tourist report. Let's talk about Underdog Fantasy, because over 1 million fans across 33 states got into the game last year by making picks on Underdog, and you can win up to 1,000 times your money by just choosing higher or lower on your favorite players' stats like touchdowns, passing yards, and more. I've used Underdog for years, and what I love is they have all these boosts now. You could get 30% boosts. This is Boosttober. They're dropping boosts like crazy, and I got a $5 entry on some college football this weekend. Hit my first 4 picks, and all PJ Fleck had to do was kick a field goal from the 1-yard line on Saturday night, and
they won.
But I had fun, and you can too. Just head over to Underdog, simple to use mobile app at underdogfantasy.com. Sign up with the promo code THEAGE, which I'm showing at the bottom of the screen right now. And Underdog will give you a free pick to use on your first cash pick'em entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code THEAGE, all one word, to claim your new customer special of a free pick and your deposit offer. You must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, and 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. If you are concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342. And in New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. PJ Fleck owes me $250.
And I was gonna say, like, if you I'm gonna assume CJ Ham had a big multiplier on Sunday. He usually does. If you get higher than usually he has 0.5 rushing receiving touchdowns. If you had him on Sunday, you probably won a nice chunk of change. So
very nice chunk of change. Yeah. Aside from the Gophers, who are on their way to the Motor City Bowl or whatever, somebody doesn't
against Vanderbilt.
Yeah, we want Vanderbilt. Let's go. How the hell is this team 5-0? Or no. We're
gonna acknowledge people.
Yes, I almost forgot. I totally forgot.
Especially after this weekend.
Yeah, I guess I'm out of sorts.
Yeah.
Who are you acknowledging?
I'm gonna acknowledge the second leading pressure generator in the NFL right now, Jonathan Grenard. He had another 7 pressures yesterday against the Jets. Like I mentioned, he's second in the NFL in pressures with 29, only behind Aiden Hutchinson of the Lions. And he has 8 more than former Vikings pass rusher Danielle Hunter. He's been a great addition to the defense and the locker room. And Grenard's just been everything and more than the Vikings were hoping for when they signed him in free agency this year. So Jonathan Grenard, you might not get the sacks, but you get all those pressures, and I acknowledge you.
You know what? I love my tribal chief. London, England loves my tribal chief. You love my tribal chief. Kevin O'Connell loves my tribal chief and gave him a game ball after this game. Will Reichert, I acknowledge you. 9 for 9 on field goals, 16 of 16 on extra points so far. And the Vikings do not win this game without him. Nope. Misses a field goal. Jets probably send this game to overtime because all they need is a field goal at the end of the game. He will miss a kick at some point. It's going to happen. But I also think that when it does, it's not going to give him the yips. The coach isn't going to pull out a shotgun and threaten to cut him or anything like that. The Vikings have the best kicker in the NFL right now. And that might be better suited for overreactions or whatever, but it's insane. I don't know how to react to this. It's incredible. He just goes out there, you get 3 points, maybe you get 1 point, and it just goes in. You can go to the fridge, you can get a beer, you're going to know that the score changes. So Will Reichert, I know we say this a lot. I know he's like the most popular guy on this segment and the origin for this segment, really. I acknowledge you.
I feel like you just did like the Jeff Hardy walk under the ladder before like the TLC match, saying he's the best kicker in the NFL.
I've been saying that
Yeah,
since
but
training camp.
he's
I
good. And
mean,
did you see?
Matthew Collar was the first one to walk under the
Oh yeah,
ladder.
that was like OTAs, I think.
Yes.
Did you see? He only got like 4 hours of sleep too. I think his wife or girlfriend posted on Instagram that like how he only slept for 4 hours the night before
Because
the
he's a
game.
cyborg. He doesn't need sleep.
Yeah, he's also what 22. He'll be fine and he plays football. I think he'll be okay.
Kick a football or go work an 8-hour shift at Menards on
Yeah,
4 hours sleep.
I
Like,
think
I don't know.
He'll be all right.
Menards, sponsor us.
Get some smelling salts like Josh Allen.
All right. Now, like I was saying, Vikings are 5-0 at the bye. Kind of weird. Like, how are you feeling about the Vikings at this point?
I'd like to be the guy that's like, oh, I'm not surprised. I saw this coming. No one saw this coming. Like Kevin O'Connell can be like, oh yeah, we knew we were capable of this. We knew it. Everyone inside that locker room, they don't listen to the noise. They all get game balls and they're ready to go. But no one saw this. Even if you thought the Vikings were gonna, win the division this year, you thought it was gonna be like with a 10-7 or 11-6 record, probably. Like they're on pace to probably win 13 games this year. If you look at the rest of their schedule. Yeah, they've been doing it with. I know they've had a bunch of turnovers, but the running game has been better with Aaron Jones. They've been Darnold's been spreading the ball around. He's been making good decisions. He's been taking chances, like even if Jefferson's covered by two people or blanketed by whoever's covering him, he still throws it to him, unlike somebody else who
he threw for 500 yards, okay? MVP candidate.
And they won in overtime.
You know what's crazy? The Falcons have not led or trailed by more than a possession this season.
Never felt like that before.
Perfectly balanced, as all things should be.
And then on the defense, I think a lot of people underestimate. I think like people who me and you close to following the Vikings, other people close to following, we knew, we had a good feeling that this defense was going to be better than it was last year, because it just felt like Brian Flores was kind of just throwing things at a wall and hoping things worked. Where this offseason he got more players that fit his scheme and fit his system, and added more depth on the pass rushers with Van Ginkel and Grenard and Dallas Turner. And then they had Stefan. Like, I feel like the corners they have now might have been better than the corners they had like after the draft with Gilmore and Shaq Griffin. They had Shaq Griffin before, but Byron Murphy was slated to start before they got Gilmore. Their safeties are good. Linebacker, like Ivan Pace was out for 2 games and they were fine. Like the other dude that filled in for him was great. I think the defense is really good. Special teams has been good for the most part, aside from punt returning. That's like punt coverage. I feel like is something that they should probably work on during the bye week. But yeah, they hit you in the mouth early in the first quarter and the second quarter, and then it seems like the other team just they have to play from behind, so they got to throw the ball. They get away from running the ball, and the Vikings just kind of pin their ears back and bring the pressure, and that generates turnovers, and it's been working. The only team that's really come close to beating them was the Packers. You could say the 49ers too, but the Vikings got away pretty easily after they came back. But the Packers came back, and the Vikings were still up 3 touchdowns going into the fourth quarter of that Packers game. So they just need to learn how to play with the lead. But yeah, I mean, they've had some breaks, but they've also just been really good. Like, could they beat the Chiefs right now? Yeah, I think so. Like I mentioned it earlier when I was talking about the Browns, how the Commanders are a team that I wouldn't want the Vikings to face right now because I think they're playing really well. I feel like that's one of maybe the Lions are a team that could, I would be worried about beating the Vikings at this point in the season, because everyone else in the league, it's not like they have the talent and ability. If they have all their guys on the field, Aaron Jones, is important, obviously. But if they have, most of their guys on the field, they could beat anybody, and that's crazy to say for some people who predicted they would only win like 4 games this year, and they already have 5 wins. So yeah, they're doing pretty well. But at the same time, my expectations are I'm not until they get to the Super Bowl. I feel like or the NFC Championship. I'm not going to be like we're going all the way because they could be surprising a few people right now. But I would just say I'm at the point in my life where I just enjoy the Vikings when they have success, and I'm not because one out of 32 teams wins the Super Bowl every year, and it's never been the Vikings. So I just try to enjoy the success that they're having now, and hopefully they'll be even better next year with JJ McCarthy. But if not, oh well. And this year's been fun.
As Mike Tice once said, enjoy the season, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm still not ready to be like, this team is going to win a Super Bowl. Like, I'm still trying to be like, keep the expectations low. We got a fun game coming up in 2 weeks, hosting Detroit. I'm going to be there. Yeah, I mean, you have some guys banged
5-0
up
before and missed the playoffs. That was the last time they started 5-0.
You can't take anybody's start,
that team
seriously in Minnesota sports anyway. The Twins just blew a double-digit lead in the wild card standings.
But that team was way more dysfunctional than this team. Yeah, you had North Turner leaving, a bunch of other stuff going on, Teddy before the season. So, yeah.
I think there's some self-scouting they can do to address some of their flaws. I think it comes at a good time because second half, you felt the carriage kind of turning into a pumpkin a little bit, where it was just kind of like they were running out of gas and they just kind of it felt like they needed like a week just to kind of take a deep breath. Okay, we're 5-0. What do we need? Like, people were predicting 0-5. I think I predicted 1-4 when I first looked at the schedule. And I mean, they're in a great spot. You compare to where they were last year, where they were just chasing when they were 1-4 and they had to make their way back. And then Kirk hurt his Achilles and, they're in a much better position. Yeah. They would have won the Super Bowl if Kirk didn't get hurt. Look he threw for 500 yards,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's good for the Vikings to sit back and kind of look at everything. And yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's going to be plenty of content at the Viking age, looking at the Vikings.
Well, yeah, and just one last thing. Did you see Justin Jefferson yesterday in his interview after the game? He wasn't happy. Like, they're 5-0. He looked miserable because he knew the offense didn't play up to, the team standards and his standards. So, and I like that out of him. He's a captain. He's still young. He's what, like 24, 23, and he's acting like he's a 10-year veteran back there. Like, hey guys, like, we got to do better. If we want to get to that level, we have to be way better than what they did yesterday. But at the same time, they played Jets defense pretty good. So
Justin Jefferson's unhappy.
Yeah,
trade destination. Justin Jefferson, we gonna put him with Pat Mahomes. Pat Mahomes need a receiver. We gonna give him one. New dude Smith-Schuster ain't doing nothing. To like, comment, subscribe for more. Hey, like, comment, subscribe to the Viking Age. What you got going on?
Oh, well, we're gonna react. Still react some to yesterday's game. The Lions are off this week, so we don't have to pay attention to that. But the Chiefs played tonight, and they're the other remaining undefeated team. So after tonight, if Clint Kubiak, wants to put together this amazing game plan and beat the Chiefs, then the Vikings will be the only undefeated team left in the NFL. We'll probably be doing some looking back at some predictions, maybe talking about some receipts that we have been keeping, and we'll look back at, because some of the predictions out there, the Vikings have already exceeded those, and it's week 5. So we'll do that. We'll look at some of the trade deadlines in like 4 weeks, I think. So we'll start looking ahead to that, see if there's some other players. We'll look into the running back situation, see if there's anyone worth making a deal for or signing. But yeah, lots of fun stuff. Bye week's always fun because it's just like full of speculation and then just reflecting on stuff that the team can improve before they return against the Lions, which is going to be a big game in US Bank Stadium. And the good thing is when the Vikings play in Detroit this year, it'll be week 18, and they'll be resting players anyway, so that game won't even really matter. So
Dan Campbell's got everybody double barrels to the wall, fighting for
throwing passes to Jared Goff. He was
Sam
18.
Laporta to Jared Goff.
Did you know he was 18 for 18? Wow.
Did
Great.
you know that Braylon Allen used to be 17 years old?
Yeah.
Same with Ryan Williams for
Did you know Jameson
Alabama.
Williams is going to be better than Justin Jefferson? He's got more upside than Justin Jefferson. Or is that was
Christian Watson?
Right?
Yeah.
And
The Packers have so many number one receivers
yeah, they're just getting
that they
suspended
had to
now,
use their number one tight end, Tucker Kraft, go Jacks.
and then to suspend someone.
Yes.
'Cause he was so good.
But that's all the time we have for the Viking Age podcast today. He is Adam Patrick at Adam Patrick NFL. I am Chris Schad at the real Chris Schad. We do this every Monday with a late week episode right here on the Viking Age YouTube channel. We're also in podcast form on Apple and Spotify the very next day. However you consume us, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe so you never miss a new episode and we can spread the word to the masses. For Adam Patrick, I am Chris Schad. This has been the Viking Age podcast.